Good evening. Why do you look so confused? Don't you know where you are? Well, this place has many names. Heaven, hell, the great beyond, Valhalla, Cloud9, the great farmyard in the sky. Take your pick. The living have a knack for naming things they don't know anything about. Here we call it the finale. Pretty theatrical, don't you think? So, have you figured out what happened yet? Give it your best guess. Whoops! No time. We're on a tight schedule here, you see, so I'll just give it to you straight. You have died. Now, I'm sure you have many questions. Who am I? Why are you here? What's for lunch? Everyone has questions. But now is not the time for questions. Now is the time for answers. Specifically, the answer to where it is you belong. Everyone. I mean everyone. Young, old, man, woman, black, white, Jewish, Buddhist, everyone has a place here. That's my job. You can think of me as your guide through the finale. I'll be taking you through each of the finale's 12 layers, the good and the not so good. So let's try to keep this short, shall we? Like I said, tight schedule. Our first destination, the Circle of Optimism.
1, 2, 3, 4 is a list of battles I decided to take upon myself. Each day here in paradise, I breathe to what seems to be fresh air. I drink water from these large fountains made out of gold and silver. I can eat endless amounts of chocolates and sweets without ever getting full. It's magical, surreal, ethereal, all the above. How can I ever stop being happy here? Before I came, all I wanted was a better world. To leave a positive spark within each person, refusing to acknowledge the pain and suffering of others. But was it worth it? Did I actually change anything? Was I actually able to change the hearts of people filled with evil? Well, I certainly don't know the answer to those questions that rotate through my mind endlessly. Slowly, I'm forgetting who I was before I came here. An activist fighting for justice, a person who helped those in need, there's a spark in me telling me I cause no harm. That I tried my best, my absolute best, to help the people that were unable to see past the dark. But now, I need someone to pull me out of mine. I refuse to give up because there's always work to be done to change the bad into good. However, there's an indescribable pain slowly growing inside me. I don't know its origins, but I know it's there and slowly beating me down. Tired and exhausted is all I am as 1, 2, 3, 4.
Next we have the Circle of Love. They say marriage unites two souls. They would be right. Even after death, lovers eternally end up here. They should probably change that whole "till death do we part" thing.
Mother, it's me, Margaret. Do you remember me? Wait, no. I think you have the wrong idea. Let me tell you what happened. You see, Mother, ever since I lost you, I wanted to be everything that you were. A mother, an actress, a role model. I wanted to prove that a woman could perform beautifully on a stage. I tried my best. I did everything that I could. But there was a problem. I was the only woman in a group of men. I would stick out like a sore thumb. Even though the men would always remind me that I had to be like a man, that I had to be strong, that I had to be independent. But I was independent. I worked alone. I did everything alone. No one wanted to work with me. I wasn't a man. But now I'm here. I was put up to so many expectations and I was killed for it. But Mother, I want to tell you something. Now that you're here in front of me. I want to tell everyone here that has lost someone, that has been through hardships, that everything is going to be okay. That sounds so ridiculous, right? You're dead. You're up here. It seems hopeless. It seems that parting is such sweet sorrow. It's ridiculous. But it'll be okay, Mother, because we're here together. I never had that person to tell me that what I was doing was acceptable. I could never meet the expectations that were always put on me. And it hurt. The only thing that really kept me going, Mother, was knowing that up here or wherever this is, right? That you were happy to see me doing the best that I could. That's what kept me going. But I didn't want to say goodbye to my family. I didn't want them to be sad that I was gone, but it happens to everybody. And you could say that it happened too soon. You could say that it wasn't meant to happen, but it did. It did happen. But everything will be okay. My family will live on. I will continue to watch them from wherever this is. But, Mother, I just want you to know. I want you to know that I love you. And that's important. Love is very important. That's what keeps everybody alive. That's what keeps everyone as an equal. It doesn't matter if I was a man or a woman. Because I loved what I did. And I loved knowing that you were there, either watching me or spiritually supporting me or whatever the situation may be. Mother, I love you. I just want you to know that. I want you to know that I love you.
You know, ever since I was a little girl, I dreamed of the idea of love at first sight. The idea of just a fairy tale wedding. Meeting the man of my dreams. No. Jonathan met his in high school. And I met him. I would call him Johnny, of course. You know, I have to annoy him. everything he did just made me so happy. Years go by, we have a little family. Just us and 2 dogs, though. I named them Fluffy and Lucky. The best 2 dogs in the world. I was content. We didn't need wealth. We had each other. You know, everything that I ever would want was there. Until about 3 days after our 3rd wedding anniversary, my 3rd year, Jonathan got the typical winter cold, but something didn't feel right. For a while, it seemed like I knew what was going to happen. You know, the sickness would take over, and I would lose the love of my life. My everything. My world. What I wasn't expecting was for it to happen so fast. They came rushing in. I got pushed out. It all happened too fast. Then it was gone. My everything. My world. I was left with sympathy, with family and friends, kind words of "I'm sorry for your loss," and even flowers. But it wasn't enough. Nothing could make me feel better. I stayed alone in the dark house for months, only leaving to get essentials. The light in my life was forever turned off, leaving me in the dark. Eventually, all this grief got to me. Well, my heart. Who knew it was possible to die of a broken heart?
How touching. Really makes your... What's that human word? Oh yeah, heart. Really makes your heart swell. There's a saying, I'm sure you've heard it. Love can make you do crazy things. Well, next we have another emotion that can make you do crazy things.
This medal is for my students, or the best coach. In another world, it might have been a shiny gold medal from the Olympics, but that's not what my life had in mind for me. I was a promising up-and-coming figure skater, and I was training hard every day. I was on the road toward the Olympics, and I would have gotten there. I was so close. I started figure skating at age 7. My aunt, who was also a figure skater, had been the reason that I started lessons. When I saw her out there in the rink, she always looked so beautiful and graceful. And I remember her telling me how light she felt in my arms, that all the weight and all the worries of the world just go away. I was more interested in wearing sparkly costumes and spinning, but I eventually valued the escape from movement that skating provided. That was until the day I was told that I could no longer skate. I don't like talking about what happened, and that shouldn't matter. What mattered was that I was devastated, and the one thing I loved more than life was taken from me. But I decided that I couldn't walk away from skating. Skating was all that I knew, and the rink was the only place that I wanted to be. Competition days might have been over for me, but they weren't over for the next generation of young skaters. The young boys and girls who loved skating just as much as I did, and who had dreams just like I did. I could have walked away and lived a life feeling sad and dreadful, but I had a chance to not let my skills go to waste and to make a difference. And that's what I did for 10 great years. Coach young figure skaters. I ended up being so grateful that I didn't give up, because helping others was better than anything I could have ever dreamed of.
Ah, yes! And as William Shakespeare said, when life gives you citrus fruits, make sweet and sour sauce. What are you looking at? It's one of my favorites. Truly wise words. Speaking of good old Billy Shakespeare, he resides in our next destination, the Circle of Wisdom.
I swear, I was the type of person who just went on and on about anything. Gosh, I'd never seem to shut up. Swear, I loved learning more than my students did. See, I was an English professor, teaching in the USSR. Why, over there, I just needed a job, but I loved it. Talking to people was what I did best. What really got into me was getting into things I knew I shouldn't have. See, there was a slight rumor going around on the streets of St. Petersburg. It was something about Americans and UFOs. It confused me, but I was hooked. Couldn't get much information over there because I hold on tight to that, but when I'd be in America on my breaks, see what I could get over there. Luckily enough, after really long hours in the library and a couple of phone calls later, struck a lead back to its original source. It came from a couple farmers outside the city I was in. They all had the same thing to say. After seeing something strange in the sky, they'd phone it into whatever local authorities there was, and the same two men would always show up. It was the Russian asking the questions, and the American translating. Both described as cold and dark. With that, I was able to come to some sort of conclusion that this was a joint effort between the two. Who knew they would be working on something as strange as UFOs in the middle of a Cold War? I was so excited to tell everyone. Some people looked at me like I was crazy. My colleagues called me downright insane, or something in Russian that I didn't understand, but it didn't matter. I was right. I ended up here anyways. Did you know that the CIA started working on this stuff in the 1940s? You think they'd all be all caught up in the war? Let's just say the old veterans didn't like that tidbit. No one had no problem with me running my mouth. My students enjoyed it. I'd put a fact on the chalkboard every day. It was all fun and games, you know? All until I started receiving these strange phone calls, this dark voice telling me to stop. I didn't give much thought into it. Thought it was a prank. It's all until I came to my classroom one day, sat down, started drinking my coffee, and started to choke. Guess if the CIA does kill you, that's practically a confirmation.
I've always been good with my hands, you know? Loved technology growing up, man. When I was younger, our living room TV broke. My parents didn't have the money to fix it, so, you know, I did. You know, it was really minor, actually. The ring cable to the display just came a little loose, you know? I loved technology growing up, man. I loved reading about all the new things that were coming out, and it just had a tick. You know, I even tried to replicate some of them. Which failed. Many times. That's besides the point, though. I was an honor student all throughout high school, actually. And I ended up going to a top-of-the-line college, and I studied inventions and innovation. I mean, I had to have been destined for something great, right? Right? Jeez. I wanted to make a change in our environment. So, you know, when I was given the job to build something that could power our entire town organically. I mean, believe me, I was ecstatic. Of course, my biggest problem was funding. I mean, I was a broke 23-year-old fresh out of college. I didn't get many donations. Matter of fact, it took us almost a decade to gather all the materials. Imagine that. A decade. That was a rough couple of years. I had such an awful diet. Ugh. Anyway, cut to the big day. I finally had everything ready. The whole town gathered to watch it turn on. I mean, could you imagine that? Hundreds of people there to see something you created. I mean, believe me, it was like a dream come true. I gave the countdown. 5, I was so excited. 4, I couldn't believe I made it. 3, my parents are going to be so proud. 2, this is it. 1, nothing. Nothing, 10 years of my life just down the drain. All that money, gone. Out of there. I was booed off the stage. I was humiliated. And I spent the next year, trying to figure out what exactly went wrong. And it was me, I really just wasn't smart enough. Here's the thing, though. I could have quit right there. I could have thrown in the towel, and I could have said, I'm done. But I didn't. Now, I don't know why I didn't. I don't know what possessed me to keep going, but I did. So, instead of trying to make myself big, I worked with some younger students, and I passed on what I learned to them, which essentially immortalized me. Imagine that, Weird. So, when life gets you down and you feel like, you can't do anything about it at all, keep going. Everybody finds their place in the world eventually. It just takes a little bit of time.
Okay, nerds. No one likes a show-off. Too bad we're about to get some more of them. Look at me! Look at all the great things I've done! Ugh. Apparently, being in paradise doesn't rid you of your self-righteousness. Anyways, here we are. The Circle of the Do-Gooders.
Some say when you die, your life flashes before your eyes, and you just remember everything. Whether your death was good or bad, painful or painless. I can tell you right now, that prediction is true. Me, I died painless. In my sleep, It's like how they fantasize it in the movies. You just don't wake up. I was 80 when it happened. Wait, no, I was 82. I can't really remember. My last few years of life, I don't really remember much. I started just to forget, the days of the week or my kids' names, mix them up sometimes. Then I started to forget my name, where I was. So you just forget who you even are. And when I was younger, I didn't want kids. I mean, they're sticky and they're smelly. And the idea of caring for a human being, let alone yourself, for the rest of your life, can scare the life out of me. That was until I met Zasha. My mom was a humanitarian, and on one of her trips to Africa, she brought me along, and I connected with this little girl. I held her in my arms, and I looked down, and there was this sparkle in her eyes. And that was that. So the very first chance I got, I started adopting. I took over my mom's organization at the age of 25. And it was starting off as just Zasha, just one. Then there was Mia, and then Devin, and then Kaden. She's the youngest. They're still kids in my heart, and I let them do as much as possible. Let them do theater. They did gymnastics, soccer, chess club, band. All nerds, but all sporty at the same time. You only live once, so do as much as you can while you live. I saw them go to their first dance, go on their first dates, get their first ticket while driving, graduate college, have their first kids. I'm a grandma. It's scary to say. 6 grandkids. All energetic little bunches. And one on the way. Kaden, she's pregnant. She's having a boy. No, she's having a girl. I can't really remember. Sorry, what I lost my train of thought. What were we talking about? Kaden. She's my daughter, and she's pregnant, having a girl. Let's just move on. What did you say your name was again?
My life was better than paradise. It was my paradise. I lived my life the best way a person could. I was born in upstate New York, but close enough where I could get to the city in an hour or two. I was much more fortunate than a lot of kids my age. I had a beautiful home. I never had to worry about money. My parents were still married, and I had the best younger brother, Spencer. Spencer was a year younger than me, and since the day he was born, he became my best friend. As we got older, I always had to look out for him because he didn't have the best decision-making skills. He was gullible and easily persuaded, while I was much more skeptical. Growing up, Spencer played baseball while I was a dancer. My mom was also a performer. She was an amazing opera singer, but she gave it up when she had me. That's why my name is Aria. She said it's because singing was always the biggest part of her life, and when I was born, I became her life. I would always dance around the house while my mom sang, copying what the dancers did in the Nutcracker play we saw every Christmas. That's when she put me into dance lessons. I started with ballet and never stopped. I didn't like to dance any other style, and I was very strict about technique. In life, there's a right way to do things and a wrong way. It's important that you choose the right way. That's where Spencer and I differ. He was always getting himself into trouble, and I was always bailing him out. I knew that without me, there would be no way he would be allowed to stay on the team, especially if he kept hanging out with those jerky boys he'd been friends with since middle school. Though he was a troublemaker, he never let anything happen to me. My entire family was always so supportive of my dancing. Ballet was my life. I was naturally gifted and I was really going places. I had applied to almost every ballet school in New York so I could build my career after high school. I got accepted into numerous ballet programs and I'd been offered a lot of scholarships, but they weren't the school that I wanted to hear from. January 17th, 1998 was the day that changed my life forever. Spencer and I both had birthdays in early January, and ever since we were young, we shared a birthday party. On Saturday, January 17th, our parents left early to go set up for our surprise birthday party that we had every year. They told us that we should meet them there for a family dinner at 6 p.m. sharp. I was sitting at the kitchen table when Spencer burst through the door. He slammed the door shut and screamed, Aria, your letter, it came! My heart stopped. That was the moment that would decide my future. I froze in my chair as he ran over to me and handed me the letter, which was still cold from sitting in the mailbox. I tore open the envelope and closed my eyes as all the possibilities raced through my head. I opened my eyes and unfolded the piece of paper and read out loud to Spencer. Dear Aria Ladone, We would like to formally congratulate you on your acceptance into our prestigious ballet program. I was so excited, I burst into tears. Spencer and I could not stop jumping around and screaming, and he gave me the biggest hug. I saw a single tear roll down his cheek. I asked him if he was crying, and he said, of course not. But he told me he was really going to miss me. I reminded him that we only live an hour away, so he would be able to come visit me all the time, especially since he got a new car for his 17th birthday. He could come whenever he wanted. I remember saying, I'm not going anywhere forever, Spence. You won't even miss me too much, I promise. Not long after that, we left for dinner. I opened my car door, but Spencer stopped me. He wanted us to ride in his new car. So I agreed and thought nothing of it. I remember that feeling of being so warm after stepping out of the frigid air. As we were driving down the road, I couldn't contain myself. I was so excited to tell my parents about my acceptance letter. But I had a weird feeling in my stomach. Something was off. As we turned the corner, I felt the car slip beneath me. We hit black ice. We were spinning out of control on the road, and everything that had happened to me in my 18 years on this earth flashed before my eyes, but only the important things. I saw our first family vacation to Disney when I was 4, and when Spencer broke his ankle trying to run in my point shoes when he was 9. I saw us cutting down our first real Christmas tree when I was 12. I saw myself dancing my dream role as Clara in the Nutcracker at age 16, and finally, I saw when I opened my acceptance letter and the look on Spencer's face when I did. And then it stopped. It stopped spinning. The screaming stopped. The fear I felt in that moment stopped. My future stopped. That was the end for me. We spiraled into a tree and I was gone. I remember watching, but I couldn't say anything. I watched as the paramedics carried my cold, dead body out of the car. I watched my parents arrive, and I can't even bear to rethink their reaction. And Spencer was the worst of all to watch. In that moment, I knew it wasn't just the end for me. It was the end for him. The next few years were awful for my entire family, but what hurt me the most was watching Spencer. He never forgave himself for what happened to me that day, and he blamed himself for my death. He got kicked off the baseball team and kept hanging around with those boys. He made a lot of poor decisions, which led him to his death later in life. I waited for him. I waited for him to come here, to paradise with me. I waited, I waited, I waited. I waited for him to come here so we could be best friends again, and he wouldn't have to feel guilty anymore. And I waited. But he never came. He didn't come to paradise. He went somewhere much worse. I would do anything to get my brother back, and I would do absolutely anything to see him again. I would go to him if I could see him just one last time. But that's not how it works. I may be in paradise, but this isn't paradise to me. I want my brother back, and I would do absolutely anything to get him here.
We're approaching those not-so-good places I told you about earlier. The bad attitudes alone make this place a living hell. Well, not living, but...
I'm Victoria Mitchell. Welcome to hell. It's wet. I shouldn't even be down here. I shouldn't be dead. It's all my stupid family's fault. The morning I died, my dad called me begging for money. Can you believe that? That leech has never given me a damn thing in his entire life, and he had the nerve to ask me to pay his rent. And when I told him no, he accused me of being a bad daughter. He said if Daisy had been older, she would have given him the money. Well, I'm so sorry I'm not perfect little pigtail Daisy. I hung up on him. I had one drink. Then I get another phone call. But this time it's from dear old mommy calling to tell me I had to take Daisy to her piano lessons. I told her I didn't want to, and she started yelling. You're in high school. You need to start acting like an adult. I do everything for you and get nothing in return. At least Daisy appreciates what I do for you too. I was so sick of being yelled at. So I told her fine. Not even 5 minutes into the car ride, and Daisy's already getting on my nerves. Vicky, I want to listen to Friday. And of course, what Miss Thing wants, Miss Thing gets. We listened to that damn song 6 times. On a loop. Friday, Friday. Ugh! I lost it. I had it up to here. I couldn't stand it anymore. My whole life has been Daisy this, Daisy that, Daisy the perfect daughter, and I could never match up. I was so distracted with Daisy, I didn't even notice how fast we were going. I took one stupid turn a little too fast. And we flipped. That's how I died. If Daisy had never had that piano lesson, I wouldn't be here. If my mom hadn't made me drive, I wouldn't be here. If my dad had never started that argument, I wouldn't be here. It's all their fault. I always knew I would amount to nothing. My whole life I knew I would die having never accomplished anything. All I ever wanted to do was climb Mount Everest. I would look up at it and let its peak mock me for being so far below it. I trained for hours and hours every single day for years. Everybody who knew me told me that I could do it. I didn't believe them. I wasn't bad at mountain climbing. My hands and feet would never slip. I would never let go. No matter how many times I slipped or passed out or injured myself, I never stopped. I wanted to do it. I wanted to scale the tallest mountain in the world. You know, they say the paths up to Mount Everest are littered with dead bodies, buried beneath all the snow and ice. Guess I'll never know. I do remember that it was cold. Mountains get really, really cold, and the air is so thin that it feels like you can't breathe. Oh, at least it feels like you can't breathe right up until that very last moment when you actually can't breathe. Maybe it was just never meant to be. I feel so stupid for ever letting myself believe that I could do it. There was always a little voice inside my head telling me to give up. But I ignored it. I persevered. Look where that got me. Dead. There is nothing here. Do you know how hard that is? To live your life expecting yourself to fail, and then letting it happen. Now I am stuck here, letting this mountain, this nameless mountain, taunt me. It's not even Mount Everest! And I'm here for what I can tell forever. I cannot imagine something worse than this. Eternity? It's gonna be a long, long time.
Well, that was, uplifting? I know just how to lighten the mood. Alright. This one's for all of the dads out there in the finale. I'm thinking of starting a support group for pessimists. But then again, why bother? It'd never work! Ba-dum! Next up, some pretty selfish jerks.
Well, well, well. You must be new. My name is Shelby Lewis. Sorry. I'm sure you're wondering why I am all the way down here. I was married young, 18, and I married the only man that I have ever loved, Tommy Lewis. We got married and said our vows in a little chapel on the hill. To have and to hold, to love and to cherish, in sickness and in health. Till death do we part. The wedding was lovely. And after the wedding we had a lovely honeymoon. And after the honeymoon we bought a lovely home in a lovely town with lovely neighbors. And we had lovely children and a lovely dog and a lovely cat and a white picket fence. We had all the fixins. Life was sweet as cherry pie. And then he got sick. And it wasn't. He was hospitalized, stuck in a bed. It got worse and worse. Tubes and wires and monitors and buzzers. Oh, big back poking him. Oh, it was a sight. I didn't let my children see him. I did not. Just me. Sat in that chair directly across from him in that hospital room, and I watched as the only man I have ever loved fell apart, faded away, till he was nothing but a pile of skin and bones in a hospital room. What was I supposed to do? Go home, feed the kids, the dog, paint the fence, smoke the lawn? No. I watched. Till death do we part. And we did. Part. But it wasn't death. It was sickness. And it didn't kill him. No. But it killed me. He was fading away in the hospital bed and I was fading along with him. In that chair. Listening to the beeping and the buzzing and the worrying. What was I supposed to do? And then that doctor. Oh. He came strolling in like a knight in shining armor. What was I supposed to do? I was lonely. I was so lonely. Isolated. Sad. And then there was the doctor. What would you have done?
I don't understand. I should not be here. Here. I was supposed to ascend. Be with the stars like you said. I just wanted to be in the stars. Where I belong. I searched all over the internet reading and searching every day, again and again and again and again, until finally I found a little tiny, itty-bitty glimmer of hope. The children of the moon. My family thought that I had finally decided my answer to that age-old question. What do you want to be, They thought I had finally decided to become someone useful to them. That I would rise up in the scholar world and become everything they had ever wanted. What? Idiots. They never paid attention to what I wanted. Any time that it was their fault, even though we were in hiding after a failed experiment of theirs. And they blamed me for their monetary issues. But they still believed that I would save them. They would never see a damn penny of my successes, no matter how much they tormented me into thinking I owed it to them. No. Of course, though. Well, didn't seem like such a bad idea. No, we all want those simple joys in life. But when we don't even have those, what's left? Well, the joy of money makes the world go round, doesn't it? So, while in the children of the moon, I made deals, did rituals that little ears shouldn't hear, and I got my so-deserved wealth and fame. And I mean it. I deserved it, especially all the crap that they put me through. But even still, I felt utterly trapped, alone with this constant need for more. It was the children of the moon that helped show me a way out. I mean, jeez, it doesn't really matter now, does it, huh? The children of the moon, this, what people would call a cult, they showed me happiness. I did everything for the moon, just so I could have a little smidge of happiness. I finally achieved some fame, and had I lived longer, I would have prospered further. But meager fame wasn't what I wanted in the end. And that's why I finished the final ritual. My parents being such a sweet sacrifice for it. Why did the police have to come and messed up everything that I worked so hard for? I belong in a paradise. I belong up there, where I belong, living like a god. I don't belong here, don't you see? I don't belong here. I don't.
Look, about this next guy, well, let's just say if he offers you any Kool-Aid, do not drink it. Unless it's red. Red is really good. You know what? Just keep your distance.
To say I knew where I was the moment I looked up could be said as an under-exaggeration. I expected to awaken surrounded by stars, glowing lights of divine brilliance, and I was left sorrowfully disappointed. For a moment I even thought this may be another test. The moment before ascension, testing my temperance, my patience, my temper. But those hopes died quick. I'd look around every minute at the disgraces that called themselves people around me. Liars, deceivers, spinners of yarn. And for some reason I was put here, in the place of those I claimed I would rid the world of. Those who were to be erased under my newfound power within the stars. Someone, something far from human left me in a place I despised through every thought. But though my hopes would perish, a new dream would begin again. I practiced aloud my sermons, those that once blessed the ears of my children. I spoke again for the stars, though I could not see them. I slowly felt their eyes upon me. Speech after speech, I felt their words become instinct again, entering my chest and leaving my tongue. And people here, they listened. These people that I once saw beyond redeeming simply were not that far off. And that's when it hit. None of us should be here. And these people, they were just lost, looking for guidance. Guidance that never came. So the moment I spoke, shouted from the tallest peak about hope, about the stars, the only thing that saved me from a life of injustice, that helped me erase my previous self. Groups followed. They joined in behind my every word. So I knew it. Whatever put us here was wrong. I mean, how could they put a prophet for justice and hope in one of the worst places unknown to the living? Well, let's just say I took that knowledge with pride. I began calling for a change in this embodiment of terribleness, for a shift in hierarchy. Whatever the being that holds us here is, they left us tortured for eternity. No chance to change our ways, no way to prove our innocence. Yet I offered peace and justice to a long, chaotic land. Offered redemption to those that may not deserve it, but were willing to try. And so I have learned at heart that the children of the moon have become reborn. So, we will climb through these layers of divinity, find our own way out to the true power above the stars. And from there, I shall finalize my ascension and become a god among men. Well, but first, we must find a way to break our shackles to this land of liars. And to do that, we must become one with the stars.
I know most humans get this whole afterlife thing wrong, but that guy? I mean, come on! Among the stars? Who does he think he is? Benedict Cumberbatch? What? The guy who walked on the moon, you know? Neil Armstrong? Neil Armstrong. All you human names sound alike. Whatever. Next up, Wrath.
I felt so hurt and unloved. My parents spent every waking moment of their lives doting on Evelyn. I don't even know why. We were twins, and I was obviously the more pretty, more talented, cooler, smarter, fun to be around, humble, most importantly humble. But she got more attention, and I had to do something about that. So, I started a series of planned plots and schemes. But over the years, nothing. None of them worked. So I put sink cleaner in her soup more times than I can count for her to just happen to trip and spill it, or to not be hungry. At the family camping trip, I set up a net trap in hopes of catching her and for her to be eaten by some wild animal in a freak accident. But instead, I caught the family dog. Then, at a family skiing trip, I tried pushing her off the ski lift. But you want to know what happened? Nothing. It turns out my sister's a child prodigy skier. So that was fun, and then she got even more attention with that. And my last attempt, you won't believe this one, my sister's allergic, or was allergic to peanuts. So, obviously I tried to feed her peanuts, and you want to know what happened? Nothing. Her doctors were amazed by the miracle that happened that day and how her peanut allergy mysteriously disappeared. So, I decided she was evil and sent to torture me. But, whatever, now I moved on, I moved out, and the years went by, and, well, one day, Evie decided to visit me, and decided to do some laundry, but then I felt some water dripping on my head, so I just ran upstairs to see what that was all about, dropped my banana peel, and that's important, remember that. So I was mopping up the water, and I heard a knock, yelled, "You can come in!" And I ran downstairs to see my sister for her to just slip on the banana peel, and it happened like this. I was like, "No, don't step there!" And she went, "It's too late. I already did." And I went, "Don't you look where you're stepping?" And she went, "No, I don't." And, well, okay, maybe it didn't happen exactly like that with the whole conversation, but the representation is mostly accurate. And then I saw my sister's head hit the ground with a sickening thwonk. And my instant thought was, oh my god, I just killed my sister. It was crazy. After all these years, nothing. But then a banana peel did her in. I found it kind of ironic, really. Well, I ran over to her, screaming her name, just hoping she wasn't actually dead. But then I felt a stab in my stomach, and I looked down, and there was a knife, and obviously my sister wasn't dead, because I looked up, and there was her smirking. It turned out after all these years, she was also plotting to kill me, and the tables really did turn that time. Well, now I know my sister was sent here to torture me, and she really is evil. And it's funny how things work out.
Anger can make humans do such horrible things. Violent things. Yup, that's right. Next up, violence. That's right, baby! Smashing plates and throwing things across the room! Whoa! Now I know what you're thinking. What's the difference? I know. Wrath, violence, wrath. Just people getting angry about each other. Look, I didn't set this place up. I just work here.
Look, despite where you see me now, I'm not a bad guy. I'm the victim in this story. If it wasn't for that bastard and that cheating witch, that kid would still be alive. Let me start over. In my life, I didn't have much, but I had a roof over my head, food on the table, and a wife who I loved. I provided everything for her, and I thought we were happy. So you could imagine my surprise when I found out she's sleeping with our neighbor. I was sitting in my living room, broken and seething with rage. How could she do this to me? After every cent I earned went to providing for her, how could she? Then, in some sick form of insult to injury, a baseball flies through my window, soars across the room, and smashes my wife and I's wedding photo hanging on the wall. I get up, I open my front door, and of course, there, standing in my front yard with a metal baseball bat in his hand, is the neighbor's son. I swear, I started seeing red. I screamed at him. I was angry. Could you blame me? I don't remember what I said to him, but I do remember that face looking up at me. He looked exactly like his father. As I yelled at the boy, all I could see was that bastard's face mocking me for not being able to provide for my wife, telling me it was my fault that she's unfaithful. I couldn't take it. I snatched the bat from his hand and, well, it doesn't take a genius to figure out what happened next. I remember hearing a scream. I look up, and there was my wife in the neighbor's yard, the neighbor right behind her. They both looked horrified, as if this wasn't their fault. The cops came and got me. The courts found me guilty. And the boy's father, my wife's lover, that bastard shot me as they were taking me out of the courthouse. Rich, isn't it? He sleeps with my wife and kills me, and I'm the one that ends up here.
Guide? Guide? Is this where I ended up with? In this dim desert, alone? I spent my whole life helping people to find happiness. I think I succeeded. Look at those smiles on their faces. How pretty. Walking on the street, you can hear constant laughing. That's me. Developed smart contacts so they can watch cat videos whenever they want and talks with the newest generated jokes and polished phrases to anyone they meet. My people working so hard on the travel to the Gaitan Palace, the legendary place with the secret of ultimate happiness. Although the roads are full of thorns, but I cover them with gold and perfume, and even bold too, so they are free to choose whichever they want. And The biggest powerhouse. The invention I'm most proud of. That can provide the power for the whole country and send the spacecraft to space. The people love it and scramble to work there. But the big boy are too powerful. So my people feel pain every time they operate it. But it's okay. I provide them painkillers and free gene surgery so they won't feel pain anymore. Their hard work got paid off. Because if we don't send those spacecraft to space, the alien would come invade us, destroy us. They are the sinner that causes those pains. And those experiments. We all want our lovers and families to get rid of disease and have longevity. But if we keep controlling the death and life, our species won't evolve. So I have to do the experiments. And thanks to me, the babies that can born become smarter and smarter, prettier and prettier. Don't worry, we only use other species just similar to us. I know you all believe me. You all understand me, trust me, and love me. I promised you, I will bring the world happiness, the best place to be, and you all will find your eternal happiness. Finally could get a seat. That was a long journey. Where were happiness, love? Poor people. Garden Palace? Gnihton. What are they gonna get? Nothing. But who would admit this or nothing? I miss my house. The house that was supported by the biggest powerhouse. What? Alien? We don't even know if that's such a thing. Do you want to know where those experimental subjects come from? They are us. The failure us. I guess they are not perfect enough to be called us. I'm just too smart, too perfect, novice, and bored. Life is long, and you got look for something. And I spend my life fun here.
That's all, folks. The exit's to your left. If you find yourself wanting refreshments, we have drinks in the Fountain of Youth, and we'll see you here next time somebody kicks the bucket. Bye.